welcome to Watercolor Collage Coral Reef Part 3. So you should have already completed Part 1 and Part 2. All this is putting all of the components together. So for this video, you need your watercolor background that you've already painted. You need your coral reef pieces that you've already made. You need your sand, and you need your fish painted and cut out. And then we're going to look at how we're going to put all these together to create one beautiful collage. Let's go.
Okay, so once we're done, we're going to cut it up. So we're going to cut our sand up after it's dried. I want it to be a little more interesting than that. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of tearing. Maybe have some unique little shapes here, one little here, and then we're going to set those to the side. I'm going to look at my background, and these are my fish. They're not actually glued down yet, but I cut them out, and I picked a few shapes that I liked from my sand, and I kind of going to play around with getting those. So I like something like this, although actually I don't, because I don't like how well they line up. I want there to be a little bit more than that. So maybe, there we go. Maybe I can turn something like this. And I can tear it. Maybe I can see. I like how that looks. I don't love this. So I can continue to tear. I really want it to look organic. I don't want it to look like I took scissors and cut it out, even if I did. So tearing it a little bit is going to give me much more of that organic look. There we go. I think we can do something like that. Still don't love how well that lines up. I'm thinking maybe something like this, and then I can use some coral to cover up this bottom part. Alright, so let's talk about putting all of this together. We want to start with putting the sand. And kind of played around with how we wanted to do that. And what we're going to do is just glue the very bottom edge. We're not going to glue it down flat because it's a collage and we want it to be able to layer and kind of work together. So sort of playing around. I think I'm going to do it like this, which means that this one's on the bottom. So I'm just going to flip it over and do a thin layer of glue right along the bottom and glue that down. So I did not put glue up here, and that's going to be important in a few minutes. Do not glue the entire thing. Then this was my next piece. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put some glue along the bottom. Layer it on so it still can stick up some. And glue on the bottom of this one. And as with all of these, I'm going to remind you to give it a couple of minutes and let it dry before you start on the next part. Okay, I'm going to start with my little anemones that I made. So I'm gonna slide these back behind here, which is why I wanted you to be careful not to make this part glued down all the way. So I'm gonna put a little bit of glue just at the bottom here. I'm gonna slide that in. Make sure my fringe is still sticking up. I'm gonna work my little anemone pieces right in here. I wonder if I have room for my top one. I think I do. So flatten him just a little bit. Perfect. And that is where my clownfish lives. So I'm gonna glue my clownfish right above it. I'm not gluing everywhere. I'm gonna put just a little bit for me right here in the middle. You put it wherever it makes sense for you. And I'm gonna kind of have him coming out of that anemone. So he is on his way up. And that way these parts of him are still sticking up. I'm just gonna kind of let this settle for a minute and move over here to this other side. I've got 2 more fish, kind of like this fish down here. And I'm probably gonna place this one somewhere right above here. Or maybe he's headed out of the frame. Play around with it, figure out where you want your little peoples. I'm going to bring in my little coral that I made. So I can glue these together. Put some glue on the edges. Glue a couple of these down here. I don't think I put nearly enough glue on that. And I am all done. If you need to go reinforce anything with glue, you can. You can always go back and make more seaweed. If you wanted some here and here, it just kind of left me some open spaces. But you can make it your own, photograph it, and send it to me. I can't wait to see them. Have fun and keep creating.